thing to be able to get together in these groups and have these discussions. I just love it.
Absolutely.
So here we go, live on YouTube. And Susan Michelle, this mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michelle. It is so great to be here as always. And I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to teach each other, to embody the principles of. And I'm so grateful for this platform, Pal Talk YouTube, and I'm so grateful for A Course in Miracles, which is a transformational teaching that I have been studying for about 34 years now, studying, teaching, learning. I'm a work in progress, like the rest of the world. And in about 30 minutes here in Massachusetts, we are going to have a total eclipse that I heard everyone speaking about in the last call. I'm listening to them speak about that on the news. And it's exciting, it is exciting. It doesn't happen that often. However, I think I'm just going to watch the playbacks. Um, yeah, so it is what it is. It's all good. Yeah, I think people, they like to, I guess, get excited about things that are happening. On Friday, another event was there was a rumbling. There was a rumbling of the ground, and that was on Friday morning. An earthquake. I was trying to think of the word. There was an earthquake Friday morning here at about 10:30 that originated in New Jersey. So that was another kind of eventful event that happened that a lot of people are talking about. Um, I guess from my perspective, it is what it is. I think what really ignites my passion isn't so much this stuff in the world that's distracting. What ignites my passion is when I really, when I really connect to A Course in Miracles, when I really connect to spiritual truths. That's what ignites my passion. So I see a few people in the room, Dove, Regis, Michaela, Lynn, who's always here. She's so wonderful. If anyone wants to share, I love to hear from other people in the room because I learn so much from other people's share. So just raise your hand and let me know if you want the microphone to share. I will start out with the introduction of my book. My passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. Surrender is a very empowering word. It's about not relying on our own strength, but trusting that when we let go of our own agenda, there is a power greater than ourself that is always there, guiding us with love, with compassion. Like all we need to do is let go. All we need to do is surrender. All we need to do is quiet the egoic mind so we can hear what God is saying to us. And it's such a deep truth. It's such a profound truth. It's such a a beautiful truth. It's all I need to do is let go of all this fear, that I'm holding on to. Fear, false evidence appearing real. The fear is not even real. It feels real when I'm going through it, but the fear is illusory. The fear is what I believe I came to this earthly classroom to learn to let go of. We all have fear. I think even Jesus Christ had fear when he was born. He was born a man, and then he learned through his lifetime how to release the fear, how to release the ego, and how to connect to peace, love, joy, and happiness, how to connect to his higher self, how to connect with God the Father, that we are all a part of. That's what makes his journey, his time here, so miraculous. That he worked hard to attain this state of enlightenment, and when he was here, he taught in his body form. And now he's teaching from the higher realms. He's teaching through his words in A Course in Miracles. And I am just so grateful for his presence, for his being. I continue to listen to different people talk about A Course in Miracles and their interpretations of everything. I was listening to Circle of Atonement with Robert Perry, Emily Perry, and they were talking about Christianity, traditional Christianity, and how when Jesus was alive, a lot of people misinterpreted what he was saying. A lot of people were scared of what he was telling them. So instead of doing their best to be like him and to live the life that he encouraged us to live, they chose to worship him. And when we worship someone, we stay separate from them. So worshiping Jesus is actually detrimental to our spiritual growth, because when we worship someone, we put them on a pedestal. When we worship someone, we kind of keep them on a higher realm, and we don't even attempt to connect with that energy. By seeing Jesus as our brother, obviously, speaking for myself, a much more evolved brother, but by seeing this Christ-like nature that he exhibits as possible for me to attain, it stimulates my growth. I mean, we all have periods of enlightenment. I mean, during the day, I vacillate. I start the day with a Course in Miracles lesson. I start the day with a 30-minute meditation. And during these times, I feel very connected to my higher self, very connected to my godlike self. And it's a very beautiful, peaceful place to reside in. I can feel my whole energy shifting right now as I talk about it and as I think about it. Then I go out into the world and I start living life. And that's when it is challenging to stay connected to that place of peace, love, joy, and happiness. So many times after I talk here, on I'll Talk YouTube, I feel so much more connected to my higher self, because we're always teaching what we need to learn. So by talking about the peace, love, joy, and happiness that I'm craving, I start connecting to the peace, love, joy, and happiness, and I feel so much better after my time here. But again, then I go into the world, and life throws me curveballs. Life gives me lessons. After my talk on Friday, I had a little job that I do sometimes, where I promote different liquor brands. So I went to a store about 40 minutes from my home to promote this particular liquor brand. And it's, it's enjoyable. Talk to people, and it's kind of something that I've been doing for most of my life, promoting different brands. But on this one particular job, there was a representative of the store that, for whatever the reason, didn't seem to like me very much. She was making my job very, very difficult. And I asked her questions as to, where the particular liquor was that I was promoting. I had never been to the store before, and she didn't want to answer that. And I asked her a few questions, and she didn't want to answer that. And I started saying to myself, well, I am going to be a good Course in Miracles student, and I am just going to send her love. And I forgive her. I love her. And I literally just started mentally sending her love, doing my best to forgive her. But even though intellectually I was sending her love, I just sent her love and love and love. Emotionally, it triggered me. It triggered me. And again, I guess it just is what it is. I mean, A Course in Miracles is teaching us that everything is either love or a call for love. So when someone is projecting their fear onto you, what would Christ do? Do you think if Jesus Christ was alive, he would take that personally? Well, obviously not. If he could forgive the people that put him on the cross, which is horrific, he obviously could forgive someone in the liquor store that's in a bad mood. But for me, it's challenging. It's intellectually, a lot of times I know what I'm supposed to do. Intellectually, I know what Course in Miracles is teaching me to do, but to really connect to that place and live the wisdom of the Course, it's extremely challenging because it's just not what the world teaches. It's not what we've learned growing up. So it's did I fail the test on Friday? I don't know. I know that we're all everything is either a lesson or a blessing. Obviously, on Friday when I was faced with someone in a bad mood, I could have not taken it personally. Again, intellectually, I knew I shouldn't, but emotionally, it's challenging. It's challenging not to take things personally. There was this story that was given by one Course in Miracles spiritual teacher about a enlightened master, or someone that was pretty high up there on the totem pole when it comes to being enlightened. And I think this is funny. I know I've said it before. He paid someone to walk around with him all day and insult him. Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but according to this spiritual teacher, it is. He paid someone to walk around with him all day and insult him, so he learned not to take other people's insults so seriously. And Michaela, you have your hand up. I'm so happy. Did you want to share?
Yes, yes, it's about what happened to you. So I just want to tell you that I found in my own script here that sometimes because I used to be a flight attendant for 12 years and now I'm a nurse. So being a flight attendant, I met a lot of different people, right? For just moments, like kind of like you do, and you go to on promoting the liquor. And, somebody may not have liked me. Well, I just had an incident a couple of weeks ago with my neighbor, and he actually helped put some curtains up because I got new windows in my house, and he wouldn't accept any money from me. So I said, okay, I'm going to take you to the movies. And I said, it's not a date. We're just going as friends. So he was all excited and he picked me up. And my son had called me, who's a EMT on the ambulance, and he's working a 24-hour shift. And I have to pick up when he calls me because I never know when he's going to call. And he needed to download because somebody had just died on him. And he just needed to download for a couple minutes to talk to his mom. And that's showing love and compassion to my son. Well, my neighbor was in the car, blew up on me for answering the phone to my son because according to his thought system, I should be paying total attention to him, right? And he walked around his car and very rudely told me to get out. He said, get out. I mean, my own family, we don't even talk to each other like that. So of course, everything's forgiveness. So I had to forgive him. And then my son kept apologizing because he was feeling guilty for calling me. I was like, no, you did nothing wrong. And then my son said, Mom, go ahead and go to the movies. Don't let that guy ruin your afternoon. So I went to the movies by myself, had popcorn, and had a wonderful time. And the next day I'm at home and I worked like you do in the morning on my prayers and my forgiveness. The next morning, my phone rings and it's my neighbor. So I know it's a classroom, right? So I pick up the phone and I said, hi, Max. And he goes, McKaylee, I just am calling to apologize to you for my behavior. And I just acted like nothing happened and asked him how he was doing, how his day was going. And he was blown away. So he told me that when I got on the phone, it triggered something in him from a past relationship. So all that I'm trying to tell you right now is that when those people are judging you, or they just don't like you, it triggers something. It's triggering something sometimes in them. So we just have to have compassion and empathy for them because there's a saying, my pain makes me mean. So the more pain a person is in, the more meaner they are because they're projecting that out onto you. So it's all of that, them not liking you, it's a trigger in them. So that's where our compassion and empathy is. And now my neighbor sees me and we give each other hugs. So of course that's not the type of behavior that I want to spend my day with. But of course, I forgive myself and I forgive him. And it's all good. Only the present is here and now. So thank you.
Thank you. That's a beautiful story. I love that story. I wouldn't be surprised if you and your neighbor develop a deeper relationship. I know that's happened to me before too, with people. Once I work through whatever the trigger is, I develop a closer bond with them. So yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. So uh, I am facing the window, and it is now 3:22. The day is looking a little shadowy now, so I'm wondering if the eclipse is coming as I'm speaking here. So if we feel any shifts in energy, you'll know why. I guess there's supposed to be an energetic shift here. And as my good friend Sherry says, it's all good. So today's lesson is lesson 99, going by the lesson of the year. Today is the 99th day of 2024. And today's lesson is salvation is my only function here. I still think if you get to the heart of any Course in Miracles lesson, you can really connect to your true sense of self, because they're all kind of giving us the same direction, but in different ways. I heard one Course in Miracles teacher actually disagree with that statement, but for me, I feel like whenever I get deep enough into any one paragraph, whenever I get deep enough into any one lesson, and I can really connect to that place within inside of me that is unconditionally loving, I just feel so good. So, lesson 99 says, salvation is my only function here. And then it goes on to say that salvation and forgiveness are the same. And forgiveness is what we were just talking about, So for Michaela to forgive her next door neighbor, for me to forgive this lady at the liquor store. I mean, she is my teacher. That's where my salvation lies, because God has but one son and we're all part of the sonship. So when I'm forgiving someone else, I'm actually forgiving myself. I mean, that's my way to heaven. It says they both imply that something has gone wrong, something to be saved from, forgiven for, something amiss that needs corrective change, something apart or different from the will of God. Thus, do both terms imply a thing impossible, but yet which has occurred, resulting in a state of conflict seen between what is and what could never be. So, truth and illusions both are equal now, for both have happened. The impossible becomes the thing you need forgiveness for, salvation from. Salvation now becomes the borderland between the truth and the illusion. It reflects the truth because it is the means by which you can escape illusions, yet it is not yet the truth because it undoes what was never done. So, I still think sometimes it's difficult to really digest the words of a Course in Miracles because of how it's written. However, it's basically telling us that, I mean, we have a choice. We can embody the truth or we can side with illusions. Embodying the truth is of God, siding with illusions is of the ego. The world is living by and teaching us the egoic thought system. A Course in Miracles is telling us that the only choice that will ever bring us peace, love, joy, and happiness is coming from a place of unconditional love. So, how do I feel the truth of who I am? I show compassion and forgiveness for whomever I am coming in contact with. On Friday, it was that lady at the liquor store. I mean, a part of me was thinking like, okay, this is a test. God has put her in my life because I'm supposed to learn how much compassion I have in my heart. I mean, there's always these trigger events that happen, and we always have a choice as to what we are going to do when we are triggered. I mean, even this morning at the gym, another trigger occurred for me. I was running on the treadmill, and this guy, I like my solace when I'm running. I have my earpods in, and I'm listening to usually these little motivational podcasts. And then the man on the machine in back of me, he didn't have his little AirPods in. He just had his phone on and he was listening to this loud something. I don't know what he was listening to, but he just assumed that everybody wanted to listen to whatever he was listening to. And I had a hard time hearing my little podcast in my earpods. So again, I mean, I just kept trying to forgive him, trying to forgive him. I actually never like said anything, but there was like a little trigger there. So I guess my point is it's just happening constantly that we are being triggered, and we can always choose between truth and illusions. I mean, what's the right answer to do when this trigger is occurring? I mean, sometimes if we really listen to the inner wisdom that we always have access to, sometimes it might be to say something. Sometimes it might be to not say something. I mean, the answer is different at each and every time, but the answer is always coming from a place of love and forgiveness and compassion. Salvation and forgiveness are the same. That is what lesson 99 starts out by saying. And what I did is I actually I have this great book. It's called Glossary of Terms from A Course in Miracles by Robert Carey, who is the founder of the Circle of Atonement. I think he's really a great interpreter, of A Course in Miracles. And he is writing here what the meaning of salvation is. And he has in his book the root meaning, which is being saved from all that would hurt and limit us. And then he has the traditional Christian meaning, which says being saved from the power and effects of sin by the atoning death of Jesus on the cross. So the traditional Christian mindset is saying that Jesus had to, and I just really don't like that definition here, that Jesus Christ had to suffer so incredibly because I was bad, because I have sinned. That's not something that I agree with at all. Doesn't make sense to me. A Course in Miracles defines salvation as being saved from the experience of separation from God, from guilt, and from all the human ills that come from separation and guilt, which is beautiful. It's beautiful because how often do our minds go into guilt throughout the day? I mean, it happens time and time again. I go to the liquor store. I'm mad at this lady for being mean to me, but then I'm feeling guilty for being mad at her because I'm not being a good Course in Miracles student. I'm not sending her love. I'm not sending her forgiveness. So she's triggering my insecurities, and then I'm feeling guilty for having the feeling. So I'm compounding the problem, by feeling guilty for the feelings that I'm having. I mean, what A Course in Miracles, in my opinion, is actually teaching us to do when these feelings come up. If we start feeling guilty for the feelings that come up, we're not even processing the feelings. To just sit and let go and relax into the feelings, whatever those feelings might be, anger, feeling not good enough, whatever you're feeling, if you can just relax into the feeling, we are more able to let them go. Guilt, I think, is a block. Guilt prevents our healing. Guilt is from the ego. So again, it's saying here that salvation is being saved from the experience of separation from God, from guilt, and from all the human ills that come from separation and guilt. Comes through the Holy Spirit's healing of our minds. Like Susan, have a really hard time forgiving someone. I mean, I do, let's face it. However, when I allow the Holy Spirit to come into the picture, and I allow the Holy Spirit to help me, anything is possible. A Course in Miracles is telling us that Jesus the Holy Spirit, the energy of Christ is always there waiting for us to ask him for help. And I think if we can really release our fear to a power greater than ourselves that we are a part of, healing is much easier. Not only is it much easier, it is guaranteed. It is guaranteed. And here I see some chats in the chat room from Dove. Thank you so much. What could you not accept if you knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Salvation, being saved by all that would hurt us, from all that would hurt us. Salvation, being saved from all that would hurt us. If you believe in this world as real, it's not easy to forgive. I mean, the Course in Miracles is telling us, thank you. The Course in Miracles is telling us there is no world. There is no world. The outside world is nothing more than a picture of an inward condition. So we're always being faced with the exact lesson that our soul needs to learn. Acceptance and forgiveness and gratitude are three of the easiest ways to connect to that Christ-like mindset that is available to us at each and every moment. It says, to get back to the definition of salvation, our spirit was never lost and so need not be saved. It's like God does not need to forgive us because God has never condemned us. However, since we have the guilt of our ego, forgiveness is essential for us in order to connect with that heavenly state. Forgiveness affirms this. It makes way for salvation by recognizing that who we are was never lost and all that impedes salvation is unreal. Salvation is thus an illusion, but one that brings the end of illusion. Salvation is an illusion because we are already home. Only the love is real, and we are already home. The ego's plan for salvation is attack, which it promises will make us safe and obtain for us idols and special relationships. Yet this really brings guilt and self-punishment. The ego ascribes this punishment to God, saying that this is how he saves and that his salvation should thus be feared. In this way, the ego seeks to save itself from God. So, I guess it sounds kind of complicated. I mean, salvation and forgiveness are the same. Salvation and forgiveness is needed in this world of illusions. However, salvation and forgiveness are not really needed because we are all really home in heaven right here, right now. So that's why when we really embody the lessons of the day, we can remember that we are already home in heaven. It's just about doing our best to connect to that state of mind whenever possible. It's a matter of slowing down. It's a matter of breathing. It's a matter of just sometimes when I have a hard time remembering who I am, I can show love to whomever I'm around. I can extend love to my brother. I can see the beauty in my brother. I can see the good in whoever is in my vicinity. And I think A Course in Miracles calls this charity. because when I can love my brother, when I can be kind to my brother, when I can show compassion to my brother, that's a way to help me remember how much love is available to me at each and every moment, how much love is available to me whenever I choose to tap into it. I had another challenge actually happen last night. I was on the phone with a good friend of mine whom I love dearly, but for whatever the reason, something got triggered in me by the conversation that we were having. And I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about how I got triggered because this one particular friend, I mean, she's so amazing. Um, Sometimes when I'm around her, I feel less than amazing for whatever the reason. I'm not sure why. So I guess the word is inferior. So I feel inferior to her, and that's not coming from my higher self to feel inferior to someone else. So I remember even before the phone call, I said a prayer. I said, "Dear God, I know my stuff." I said, "Please help me to remember that you have but one son and we're all part of the sonship, and I'm, not inferior, I'm not superior, we are all the same." But that quality got triggered in me during the phone call. And it wasn't about her. It was just something in me that was coming up for healing. And as I think about it, I think about the prayer that I said. I said, "Dear God, this is how I feel. I give it to you. I don't want to feel this way." And I almost feel like I created that situation, because A Course in Miracles is telling us that we are always creating our own circumstances. And if it doesn't feel good, it's just because there is something that is in the need of for healing. So some kind of darkness within me came to my light, was coming to the light. But again, I also think of the prayer. I said it was kind of like a negative prayer, you know. A Course in Miracles is telling us that the clearest prayer that we can pray is one of gratitude. The clearest prayer that we can pray is to pray for forgiveness. But if you're putting something negative out to the universe in the form of prayer, I wonder if we actually create those situations for ourselves, because I'm trying to understand what happened. I know it says here in the Course in Miracles about what we experience in life. It says in chapter 21, Reason and Perception, it says projection makes perception. It says that over and over in the Course in Miracles. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause, and that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos. So the Course in Miracles is telling us that projection makes perception, you know? So I think in a way, there was something in me that was putting that out. And then there was something in me that came up for healing purposes. And now the way out of that state of mind is forgiveness. I mean, it's not, and again, I'm not even upsetting her at her in any way. It's just there's something in me that feels less than. So for me, it's all about self-forgiveness. And you know, and what came up for me too was judgment of myself. You know, I was feeling very judgmental of myself. And A Course in Miracles tells us over and over that judgment is of the ego. And it is the opposite of true vision, which is the Holy Spirit. So there was something in that conversation that came up from a fear-based, judgmental state of mind. And my ego took over the reins because I know I cannot love myself and judge myself at the same time. It's one or the other. The two are total opposite, you know? So it's like, I remember I used to go to the Unity Church, and they used to have this song, "Our thoughts are prayers and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers, listen to what you're saying." So we just need to be aware of what we're putting out to the universe, you know, and when we do make a mistake and we see fear instead of love, we need to forgive and realize that there's always lessons that are happening. So because that's happened before. I mean, I pray a lot, but it's really important to listen to the words that I do pray, that I do say when I pray. Whenever I'm feeling inferior to someone to someone else, that's of my ego. Whenever I'm feeling superior to someone else, that is of the ego. Whenever I'm seeing the beauty in my brother and I'm feeling the beauty in myself, that is of God. That is true connection. That is what I think we all crave. We all crave true connection. And true connection comes when we can just realize that, you know, that we're innocent, that we are innocent. You know, that's like when I say in the morning, I embody the essence of innocence. That is what helps me to connect to my true Christ-like nature. I'm no better than anyone. I'm no worse than anybody. You know, nobody's better than me. Nobody's worse than me. I am innocent, and I've made mistakes in the past, but, you know, I mean, I have not really done anything wrong. So, and all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. I mean, I Googled forgiveness in, of course, in miraclesnow.com. And of course, the whole essence of what A Course in Miracles is teaching us is the meaning and the importance of true forgiveness. So when I went into A Course in miraclesnow.com and I put forgiveness in the search bar, it came up with all over the book. All the book is about forgiveness. I pulled up lesson 122, which says, "Forgiveness offers everything I want." It says, "What could you want? Forgiveness cannot give. Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and the warmth of sure protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you and more. So it's really, it's about, instead of putting on those glasses for the eclipse, instead of putting on eclipse glasses, put on forgiveness glasses, look at the world, through the aura, through the, um, through the eyes of Christ. And Christ just forgives everyone always, all the time. He never holds anyone accountable for their wrongs. He releases all guilt, like from our mind. We don't need to hang on to any guilt. All we need to do, and every time we can find it within ourselves to either forgive ourselves or forgive our brother, we are connecting more closely to God. And then I always have to remind myself too. I mean, part of what came up for me in the conversation last night is that I guess I felt like I wasn't taking enough action steps towards living my life's purpose. I guess that's what came up in me. But then I have to remember that nothing that I accomplish in this world can ever really bring me happiness can ever really bring me happiness. It's living from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in. And when something is feeling off, in our psyche, instead of looking to the outside world to fix the problem, we need to really turn within and find whatever it is inside. I don't know if we even need to find it. We need to just kind of shine the light on the darkness. We need to connect to that state of unconditional love. We just need to start accepting ourselves, start loving ourselves, start surrendering to a power greater than ourselves. Because the problem is never in the world when we're feeling off, when we're feeling less than. The problem is never in the world. The problem is always something within us is feeling not good enough. Whenever we're feeling not good enough, or for the ego, whenever we're feeling like overly good, I think they're both coming from egoic states of mind. It's just kind of knowing that we have everything that we're looking for in the world, everything that we think we're looking for in the world, all this exists within us. And just to come from that place as often as possible is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. In my own book, in my chapter number 3, I believe, is when I write about chapter number 5, finding joy within. I write, peace and joy are available to you right here and now, regardless of what is going on in your life. I mean, that is so true. That is so very true. That's what A Course in Miracles teaches us. Peace and joy are available to you right here, right now, whether things are going really great in the outside world or not so great in the outside world. All I need to do is stop and remember who I am. When you start living from the inside out, instead of from the outside in. You learn to connect with your inner peace first, and then enter the world from a place of acceptance and love, which you can then share. When you do this, life makes sense. So, again, that is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. A Course in Miracles is telling us that I have everything that I think I'm looking for externally. I have everything within myself, and I just need to remember that it's there. It's so interesting. Sometimes when I go through challenging times in life, and the world is really pushing my buttons, sometimes I end up coming out of these times in a greater, more peaceful way, because I just kind of give up and I stop looking to the world to make me happy, and then I start truly, you know, focusing on God and connecting to God. And when I do that, it's just everything just comes together almost miraculously for me. And it's really very beautiful. And then I go on to write, no matter what we achieve on the outside, if the desire to attain a goal is driven by internal feelings of unworthiness or lack of worthiness, accomplishing it is going to fall flat. Regardless of how many people tell us how great we are, accomplishing our goals will never bring us the joy we desire, since nothing that we accomplish on the outside can change how we feel on the inside. That's just one of the greatest truths that A Course in Miracles is teaching us. Nothing that we achieve on the outside can make us feel good on the inside. Those feelings are transient. When we get something that we want, those feelings are transient at best. It's only by having this solid foundation that will bring us true joy. I think, well, Course in Miracles talks about that. The Bible talks about that too. And then I have A Course in Miracles quote. It says, "You do not really want the world you see, for it has disappointed you since time began. Nothing of this world has the power to make us joyful or happy in the long run." This truth is repeated throughout A Course in Miracles. True joy and happiness are found in our connection with God, which isn't something to be found outside of ourselves. It is important we become aware of when we feel most connected to God and to ourselves, so that we are able to do so again and again as we move forward. I think I feel the most connected to God when I'm coming from a place of innocence, when I am forgiving myself, when I am forgiving my brother, when I am also accepting my life exactly as it is, not resisting anything, not trying to change anything, focusing on the good in my life, focusing on what I'm grateful for, and remembering that I have everything that I need within me. Finding this awareness is challenged by the fact that most of us grew up learning to look outside of ourselves for our joy and happiness. And before we even knew it was happening, we simply got into the habit of relying on other people's opinions about what would make us happy. Therefore, let me emphasize that it requires effort on your part to become mindful and aware of your inner self. So, just to be fully present in each and every moment is so empowering. It is so gratifying. It is so, it makes us feel lighter. I think we all have a certain energetic frequency that we vibrate to. When we are vibrating to, when we're connecting to the love that is within us, when we are truly loving our brother, when we are forgiving ourselves, when we're seeing the innocence in our brother, when we're focusing on the peace, love, joy, and happiness in our life, our energy is literally higher. And so when our energy is higher, it's like we see the world in a whole different way. And on the other end of the spectrum, when fear kicks in or guilt kicks in, when we go down into that rabbit hole, when we unplug ourselves from our God socket, then our energy is lower and we feel denser. And it's harder to feel the truth of who we are. So I think the way out of the rabbit hole is just constant forgiveness, just constant forgiveness to keep your mind, as the Unity Church sings, listen to what you're saying. We're always praying. We are always praying, but it's we can like pray from a place of higher consciousness, or we can pray from a place of fear. When we pray from a place of fear, then the prayer really doesn't do us much good. And I think that's a lesson that I've learned recently. If you start praying from a place of fear, I do believe we end up creating that in our life. And again, it's not to punish us, it's just to teach us. It's everything is a learning lesson. So on that note, it is 4 o'clock. I think the eclipse happened here in Massachusetts during my talk. So that's kind of interesting. I'll have to see if my husband watched it downstairs from the window. But thank you all for being here with me today. I love you so much. And as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan Michelle, and beautiful sharing. I